What's up guys, you're watching TUGGtv and today we're going to talk about the recent news making headlines in the music industry, predominantly the death of Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington.
This is a slight changing tone for the videos that we post on our channel, but then we felt this is something that we had to address.
Linkin Park needs no introduction. They have been one of the pioneers of new metal, been around in the industry for near as nothing 2 decades, and they have influenced a lot of us over the time. So I've been listening to them since I was in school.
Yeah, and I started listening to them from when they released Meteora, the 3rd album. It's been quite a while since it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, Hybrid Theory will always be the most memorable album because growing up, it had a lot of influence.
Those emotions and the lyrical content of what the first few albums had to offer was something that I'm pretty much sure a lot of us as teenagers could really connect to.
That is true, but apart from that, if you think about it, Hybrid Theory at that time was very unique because there wasn't a lot of stuff that sounded like it.
Exactly.
Point number one.
They stood out from the crowd, and it was something unique when the moment you heard even the slightest portion of the song, you knew this was Linkin Park.
It was very relatable, personally for me, because I was a strange kid, and we've all gone through difficulties in life, and this was something that helped me through. It was something I could relate to, and let's not forget it was a great album. It's one of those few records where you can just play it through and through, first song to the end song, and you're going to love all of it. So, great album there. They've also had a lot of other notable work. Meteora, again, like you mentioned, great album. And over the times, of course, the music did change.
Yeah, it was sort of the slow transition from what you had, the new metal scene, to the current experimental level to what they are right now.
You can say that, and some of their stuff was also a little pop. There's been word out in the media that some of their later work and recent work became more pop than it was metal.
Or more commercial.
Commercial, yeah, that's what we can say. And I still remember I got to know about Linkin Park because a friend of mine in school gave me a cassette. And that's how music was done, that's how music sharing happened, we'd buy a cassette. Absolutely. Either tape trading or you make your own mixtape, get a mixtape.
That was the thing. We used to listen on the radio and then record that. That's how I got into Linkin Park, wherein I first heard Somewhere I Belong, which was the first single off of Meteora, and then I actually recorded it on my VHS tape. And for you kids out there, VHS is what came before your CDs. That's how we saw videos.
Back when Hybrid Theory came out, a lot of it was not playing on the radio, so it was difficult to get our hands on. And
personally, when you think about Linkin Park and the evolution what they have throughout the years, you can see that slight change from the weird kid who always used to listen to the songs to your everyday man who knows Linkin Park for what it is. And if I'm not wrong, the first 3 albums was when they were properly signified into your new genre metal. And then with Transformers, especially with their OST coming into play, that is when the rest of the world heard it.
That's right. And not to mention that was a commercial success as well.
Exactly.
Right from Meteora, I think they've had a lot of commercial success.
Yeah. And this kind of enabled them to actually experiment a bit more. So when they realized, okay, we can branch out there, we have a wider audience. And this is where the artistic envisionment comes into play, because every artist might not have the same sound from when they begin their career to the end. For the best example, you can check out Devin Townsend. Initially when he started off, touring with Steve Vai, his sound was very different. Then he made Strapping Young Lad, which was one of the most hardest metal bands out there. And then now with the Devin Townsend project, he is transforming to a much more ambient and the progressive sound which is there.
So there are links in the description for everything that we're going to mention. So coming back to Linkin Park, earlier this year they gave us their latest album, One More Light.
Yes.
It was, and it was received with a slightly mixed opinion. I'd say we included a fan backlash for
exactly. There was a widespread fan backlash which actually leaked, and this is from the point that they released their first single, which was Heavy.
In light of what has happened, listening to the music is very different. But if we have to think back, even when they released Heavy, so I'm basically getting on to the point of backlashing over here. Now this is something that's been developing in this industry a lot.
Exactly.
Lately, you think back in the earlier days, you got an album, you didn't like it, you don't listen to it. If somebody asked you for an opinion, you don't like it, you say you don't like it, you move on, get something else, listen to something else.
Exactly. At this point, I'd like to tell one thing which is a very personal thing of mine. Wherein after Meteora, I did not enjoy much of Linkin Park's albums throughout. But I still have the first 3 albums in my car which I still listen to today.
And no, I think somewhere, if we have to talk about it, the social media is
it does.
partially a culprit to it, because now you can voice out your opinion sitting anywhere, being anonymous.
And it's a matter of forming your own opinion, because these days the trend, what you see, as you're talking about in social media, if one person lashes out against the album, even though another person might not have heard the song, might not have actually had any exposure to it, will still just form it for the sake of having an opinion. This is something that we as musicians or people who listen to music have to stop.
Coming to Chester Bennington, he was found dead at his residence in California on 28th July by what is a speculated suicide.
Currently, there are a lot of things which are going on in the media which we can't validate, so we are taking it into consideration.
I think at this point, validating anything is difficult, because every day there's different news. Until a few days back, it was confirmed to be suicide. Now they're suspecting foul play. There have been talks about various other rumors.
And there are a lot of, coming to foul play, there are a lot of things which are going on in the social media as well. As you know, his wife's Twitter was hacked. And that's just really bad ethics from anybody who's done that.
I don't know whether she actually did that, or if somebody has hacked the account. But if somebody has hacked the account, then if you are that somebody, please seek help for what he did. You're a little cuckoo in the head. Okay, it is eerie how similar the suicides of Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington are. In fact, Chester committed suicide on Cornell's 53rd birthday. Chester, in fact, has dedicated a few songs to Chris Cornell.
Both at his funeral and in a couple of shows as well.
And coming back to the topic that we're discussing, this whole blowing off of artists. So this makes us wonder, are we really doing the right thing? We have the social media to voice our opinions, which is a good thing, but are we really crossing a line here? Because you got to keep in mind, at the end of the day, these artists put a lot of emotion,
and their heart and soul goes into making each and every one of those songs.
You put yourself in the situation, you write a song, and yes, I agree to interpretational freedom. Everybody has the right to view their opinion, to voice their opinion. Feedback, it's good to take feedback, but sometimes you cross a line and someone else might not have envisioned or imagined the song the way you did it, so you tend to get some negative feedback. You end up getting a lot of negative feedback, which is okay, but then it's how you're getting that feedback which might affect you as well, which is probably what could have also happened here.
Yes. And one of the things which I'd like to address at this particular point, and this is purely for all you metalheads out there is a slight change in the tendencies if you look into it. Previously, or back when we were growing up, anybody who listened to metal or played metal had the factor that even though if I don't personally like it, it's okay, you can listen to it. But these days you see a lot of people actively trying to bring down the things that they are against. This culture of constantly bringing down an artist just because they feel that they are wrong from your perspective does not make a lot of sense, if you ask me.
And another thing we want to talk about is, why does it have to take the death of someone to be loved and remembered? It feels a little funny, because back in March everybody was hating this person, and today there's montages, there's a whole we love you and we miss you thing.
And it seems to be this kind of cliched thing now, where the moment you come out and say, yeah, I love Linkin Park, Chester Bennington was my voice. You hear all of these statements coming out from people who were as you said, actively trying to bring them down at that moment. So this sudden change in the side of spectrum is something which is very unvalidated.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's both extreme, and overall, if you look at it, the tolerance in the music industry has come down. Probably because there is so much, there's so much music out there. You get them off various medias. You like it, do a thumbs up. You don't like it, thumbs down. You have an opinion, it's just a couple of lines you type and send out. But for the person who's actually made the music, those words may end up hurting them. Which, of course, brings us to address the elephant in the room, and that is depression.
Yeah. So depression is something that a lot of us hear it on a very daily basis, but then I'm pretty much sure a lot of us don't have any idea on what depression actually is. And the main problem is the factor that in daily life, people confuse depression with just feeling emotions of, feeling down. This is one thing what society needs to learn. Depression and just feeling grief are two very different things. Grief is something which is a very logical thing which comes after probably a few certain events. It might be the passing away of a family member. It might be the loss of something which is very near to you. It might be something which is professionally related as well. But then these end up staying for only a shorter period of time. But a psychological, hampering is what brings about depression. And depression is certainly something which is not like a disease which can easily be cured and then it's never going to return back to you again. Talking about how depression might actually be caused, there are multiple factors of it. Research actually shows the fact that it might be something biological, it might be a genetic one. There are possibilities where
it's different for different people.
Exactly. And the major factor would actually be the things around you. Your personal psychology on how you actually see things and the kind of society which you live around. But then this essentially forms one of the biggest barriers of what we actually see in depression. Because depression doesn't have any very standout symptoms. The person sitting right next to you watching this particular video might be depressed. Absolutely. And you will never know it.
Generally, they say, and I have observed it firsthand having gone through similar things like this, the person who's depressed will be the one who's smiling the most.
Exactly.
You wouldn't know this person is depressed and you just go ahead and voice your opinion, which sometimes might not be necessary, and that could result in someone else taking a life.
Exactly. Taking into consideration about Chester Bennington, if you look at it from a society perspective, he was doing well in his musical career. Financially, there were no problems. Family-wise, he was
happily married, 6 children.
So essentially, when you look at it, you feel that he's a man who might not be suffering from something like this. But then it does happen.
I think it's also sad to think about, post what has happened, what is going to happen to the family.
This is something which doesn't necessarily affect one person, and suicide is something which it's a ripple effect. You might think that you're the only person who's being affected by this, but then you're forgetting what else it is going to cause.
This is a message for those of you out there. Of course, we understand different people go through this very differently. We are not, discounting what you go through in life and your problems, but if ever you do hit a low spot, you got to think about these matters. You're not just living for yourself. There is a family. There is more to your life. You have to think about these things. And since we are on the topic, we're talking music here, and metal music essentially. So metal has been associated multiple times with the subject.
Not only metal, but since the formation of rock, it has been a rebel music for people who are, talking about the essentialities of what life is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. While there were people who were singing about surfing the waves, spending time on the beach, and waiting for that loved one.
Yeah.
Rock and metal mainly focused on everyday life. The wars which we fought, both internal and external.
I mean, every genre has music that is sad, that represents us. At the end of the day, this is a human emotion, and it happens to practically all of us. At some point, you are going to have a bad moment in life, and that's what this talks about. Metal and rock, however, do tend to focus more on it. Linkin Park's music also, there's a lot of songs which, if you think back, it does talk about depression. It does talk about ending it. Many thoughts, many songs I can think of. Shadow of the Day.
Somewhere I Belong.
Yeah.
And this is where it comes into play. The emotional bond, what you form with music, is something which can help you get through a lot of things in life. Because here, essentially, it makes you know that you're not the only person who's actually feeling those particular emotions. You connect with the other person from that side of the music.
Absolutely.
And this is something which I'm sure, personally, all of us would affect.
Leave out all the rest. That's another song that totally resonates with what's happening right now.
So coming down to this, music might not be the permanent solution to it. There are cases wherein it is deep-seated so much in your mind that it takes a lot to get out of. And trust me, everybody who is suffering from something like this needs a lot of help.
Yeah. Keep in mind that where we are in India and Bangalore, this is a subject that isn't spoken of very often, but you'd be surprised by the institutions and people that are here to help, organizations as well. So if you are going through something like this, please understand depression is real, but it can be solved, and you should reach out for help.
And also, it is not about them personally reviewing it. It has to be something which the other people in and around us understand the fact. Now, even in your particular group, there might be a guy whom you feel might be like the weird kid among all of you, but then try to understand from his perspective. Do not just ignore him, stating the fact that, yeah, dude, he looks so creepy, man.
Just because your life is fine doesn't mean everyone else's is, right? So be thankful for what you have, but don't put the poor guy going through a tough time in life through more.
Even worse. Yeah. This might be something which tips him off the edge, and the result is something that we cannot expect.
So do you have a story where Linkin Park or music in general has got you through your difficult times? What did you think about this video log? Do let us know in the comments below. As fans in the metal community, let us not do this to the artists that we love. Let us also love them back. They make mistakes. It's all right. There is no need to backlash and lash out against them, because this is their hard work. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button over there for more.
And as always, stay metal.